Hi, well, welcome to Glasgow. We have been at the COP for the last week. My name's Chip Cunliffe. I'm the Biodiversity Director at ACTA XL and the co-chair of the Ocean Risk and Resilience Action Alliance. I'm here with Karen Sack, the co-chair and also the Executive Director. And Karen, you met someone quite interesting today.
I did. A good way to end a very long week. I had the pleasure of meeting with President Obama with a group of people from the Race to Resilience and the Race to Zero. And we spent about an hour and a half with the president discussing how we can ramp up action from finance, from governments, from youth to make a difference and implement change in the world following this COP.
And engagement?
Engagement
from President Obama?
President Obama in the Ocean Risk Alliance.
Hello.
Well, I did ask if he and his team would work with us to further engage the finance sector on building resilience to ocean risk globally. So that was, I think, high point for me. What was the high point for you at the COP this week?
COP. Well, COP is interesting, isn't it? It's sort of this parallel universe where we're racing at 100 miles an hour inside in this sort of almost cocoon bubble where you're on panels and you're presenting and you're meeting and actually what happens, you come out of after 12 hours or 15 hours or whatever, how many hours you've been in there, and the world is still turning it is a complete bubble. But it's been amazing actually. I think the big thing for me, the big takeout has been the energy. I think possibly because of COVID, everyone's seeing each other pretty much for the first time. But I think actually some of the areas of focus of this COP have been really interesting. So bringing the finance sector into discussions, focusing on nature and nature-based solutions. Yeah. And I think I feel there's been real energy and that's been really exciting.
It's interesting because I've been to several of these meetings now, and nature has never been at the top table. And I really do feel, even though you can sense the frustration outside of the bubble,
yep.
But it's really exciting to see the nature and the ocean and finance really front and center. And I think what was fascinating as well for us is the number of partners we spoke to from all the different sectors, meeting the new Canadian Minister, Environment and Climate Change, meeting Prince Charles, talking about ocean finance. What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, I think part of this, is about collaboration, of course. And I think being able to sort of bring together all these different interests into, maybe it's our space, I'm not quite sure if it's our space, into the ocean, into the ocean world. And I think that's really, for me, a really, as you say, it's almost a step change. And I think that one of the things I'm really keen to see is to go from, it's taken this long to talk about the ocean. We had some amazing investments and focus on deforestation at the beginning of the COP. It's taken 26 COPs to get that far.
Yeah.
How do we take the ocean? Obviously it can't take another 26 COPs for the ocean to be involved. So how do we do that? What's the next step for the ocean within this whole program of focus as it relates to climate change?
Well, I think that what's happening within the negotiations is we're finally seeing some text emerging with a lot of countries supporting it to include the ocean as part and parcel of what needs to be a climate solution, both within the climate world but beyond that as well. And I think it's exciting to see the interest in investment into blue and nature-based solutions. And yeah. So
we had this really great breakfast meeting on the Friday. And we had, Lord Goldsmith and the Minister for the Environment from Canada, and actually ministers from various countries around the world.
Yep.
It was fantastic. What gives you hope, and what were the highlights from that meeting?
So I think what was really exciting was to see the commitments that were being put on the table, the collaboration between different sectors. I think a highlight was also hearing from Maya. Maya is in her early 20s. She grew up in the Bahamas. She's seeing the real impacts of ocean risk on her family and her community, and I think that was incredibly powerful for the high-level folks that were there. And I think what's important is that we don't get stuck in just talking to this upper echelon. We did a side event yesterday where we managed to get outside the building, and we had people from Tanzania, Colombia, the Philippines, talking about some of the work that they were doing. I think that was more inspiring than anything else, because they are the folks that are working on the ground with vulnerable women, vulnerable communities, developing the products. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, I got to, one of the things that will stay with me is the film that we saw on Sunday evening about these people on the front line of climate change in Bangladesh, and the impact, vast impact on their own lives, the lives of many, obviously thousands within those communities, especially the women and girls, which was devastating. But of course, that this isn't just happening in that one place. It's happening all over the world, and I think that for me, coming at it from the private sector, is that there's more that we need to do, but in that regard, I think we know we can't do it on our own. So doing it through ORRAA is the one place in which we could or can and should be doing things. But how do we bring others to the table?
I think that's our challenge going forward, and it's really important for us now to begin to work with some of the relationships we've built here with Fiji and other countries to get those partners to the table and really drive this forward. And I think that's the impetus that we have now. There's so much to do, and I think everyone will leave here slightly exhausted, but reinvigorated at the same time. And then our job is to make sure these things happen.
Yep.
And I guess that's pretty much us from Glasgow, signing off with a cup of tea and looking forward to getting the work done.
Been great, quite enjoyable.